Good afternoon, and what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Sunday the 9th of April, it's Easter Sunday, and I've got a nice hot cup of tea. Got a parcel to unbox, so let's get this open. Almost there. What I have got in here is the Dungeons & Dragons Annual 2023. Now, as I said before, I've done unboxings of the previous annuals that have been published this is by Farshawe, usually I think it's by Hodder and Stoughton in previous years here in the UK. And in the UK we have a tradition of giving, publishing and giving annuals as gifts at Christmas. So typically they've been dedicated to particular comic strips or comic books like Dandy or Beano, or television series like Doctor Who or something like that. And children would receive them. I used to receive them as a child. But these have been expanded, so you get them in comics, and you get also sort of thing with the Dragon Annual as well in the past. So there is precedent in the gaming hobby as well. Now these have been interesting books in the past. They've sort of been introductions to Dungeons and Dragons, and they've gotten a bit more sophisticated and more detailed as they've gone on. But they have sort of like had a mix of really two things, which is Dungeons and Dragons content and the kind of games and puzzles that you would expect to find in a standard British annual. Puzzles, games, mazes, that sort of thing. Spot the differences, stuff strictly really aimed at children. So we'll open up with quite a nice image there. Then we've got the introduction, and the contents. So the introduction says, from the early days of advanced Dungeons & Dragons in the 1970s all the way through to the convention flooding, live streaming, homebrewing fans today, D&D has been welcoming old and new fans alike for decades. Whether you're a veteran Dungeon Master or looking for your first time ever game, the Shores of the Forgotten Realms are here to welcome you. Featuring all of the D&D's highlights over the past year, Dungeons & Dragons Annual 2023 is packed full of world-shaping lore, hints and tricks to level up your gaming table, exclusive interviews with creators, fantastic puzzles to boost your intelligence rolls, discover campaign settings new and old, meet some of the most iconic characters from D&D lore, and brew up your own characters and mechanics all within these pages. So what are you waiting for? Grab your dice and roll for initiative. So you have Welcome to the Multiverse. First off, sort of like thumbnail introductions to each of the main settings currently being explored in Dungeons & Dragons. So that, of course, that includes the Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft, Eberron are really the kind of the big settings for Dungeons & Dragons at the moment. But here we've also got Strixhaven and Ravnica, which are settings from Magic the Gathering. And but you've also got Exandria, which is the setting from the actual play series Critical Role. So it's touching on the main ones that even if you are not familiar with everything about Dungeons and Dragons, and you really only come in sort of like after having watched Critical Role, there's some sort of touchstones. There's some things you can recognise. So here we've got guidelines for playing online, what you'll need. And then we get into the lore and content. So we have heroes and villains, Strahd himself, of course, in a surprisingly more colourful and less Dracula-like portrayal there. We have first the puzzles, so combat chaos. We've got sort of like which one of these is identical. Can you find the following items? So it's a puzzle search, but in a pile trader. That's a bit different than what you normally see, but that's quite nicely done, nicely themed. Forgotten more of mapping the realms. So this is placing them in a bit of context with each other. So it's looking at Ravenloft in particular. Where Ravenloft castle is, what the dark gifts are. And then some of the charity work that Dungeons are done via Dungeons and Dragons. So looking at the community, planning a dungeon delve, what you need, and what you're going to encounter, traps, puzzles, riddles, combat, be prepared, role playing, and so on. And then D&D bookshelf, where do you start? So this is really, you want to start reading Dungeons and Dragons fiction. There's lots of Dungeons and Dragons novels out there. This is the starting point. So Candlekeep Mysteries. This is the looking at the anthology of adventures and mini campaigns. Candlekeep Mysteries. Bestiary, Fiends and Celestials, building on the previous Bestiaries, presented in the annuals that come out in previous years. A very, very, very beginner's guide to homebrewing, building your own campaign, building your own characters. Creating characters is more necessarily that you'll be doing first before you get onto a world, I think. And then we have how to get safely through the dungeon. Another couple of puzzles. This one is which basically you've got to get through the following instructions to get through a maze. Here you've got to identify the right shadow for the Sphinx. Heroes and villains. We have Asariak. Again, doing the same thing, tying it into Tomb of Annihilation. Before we get into more of mapping the realms, and we're going to the Feywild. And then continuing into the community, we have coverage of 3 Black Halflings, which is an actual play podcast or stream. Bestiary, looking at the Gem Dragons. Character creation checklist of writing the backstory, just asking questions about your character, going into a little bit more depth, what the childhood was like, relationships, values, previous employment. Now, you don't want to get into those in too deep, so otherwise you've got a life essay, which can be, and then you've got basically a couple of puzzles, spelling it out to work out which is the one spell. And working your way through this route by using these coins, which remember as sort of as little card pieces in the board game. Oh god, I can't remember the name of the board game. Name escapes me. Anyway, loot table. Here's the possibility. So other things that you can buy to go with your Dungeons and Dragons game. So miniatures. I love the bag of holding, but it's so obviously a bag of holding. You wouldn't sort of like, hi, I've got a bag of holding. You'd be advertising it. You can even get. You can now adorn your crocs with official D&D gibbets. I've actually no idea what a gibbet is. Some kind of sort of 3D sticker there, but adorning your crocs. Okay. Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos, the Magic the Gathering setting for Dungeons and Dragons. Heroes and villains, we get onto an actual hero, Mordenkainen, whose magic features strongly in the film we saw actually just yesterday, Dungeons and Dragons No Honor Amongst Thieves, which is a lot of fun. Virtual play weekends, looking at again the sort of like playing beyond the table, beyond your gaming group and the wider community. Bestiary, aberrations, and undead. And this is all showcasing just the great artwork you get in Dungeons and Dragons now. In the past, there's been some classic pieces of artwork, but not very great pieces of artwork. Looking at another style of play, one-shots. I do play a lot of one-shots, not Dungeons and Dragons one-shots. If I want to play Dungeons and Dragons, I tend to want to play a campaign a little bit longer. Then the sort of questionnaire, kind of questionnaire you get in these things. What Dungeons and Dragons class are you? So you follow, ask all the questions. It's sort of like, it's the equivalent of the questionnaires you get in women's magazines. Who's your, what's your ideal man? Or what type of hair do you have? And no, I'm not denigrating those. They have their place, but it's that model. Girls Guts Glory, another public gaming group. This is all female, and again nicely covering sort of like the wider community, and showing how the game is not just restricted to weirdy beardy blokes anymore. Level up your table using battle maps and miniatures. Then mapping your realms, looking at Greyhawk. Greyhawk tends not to get as much coverage these days as does Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms is kind of the default setting for Dungeons and Dragons, and I got to admit, I've never actually played in either. I played some of the adventures there, but I've never done a campaign there in either setting. So if I ever did, it would be all familiar to me. I tend to play in look at Planescape or Dark Sun or something like that. Then I've got a guide to animal companions. Great if you've got animal companion, especially if you're playing a druid. Session 0, what to do. This can be because Session 0 is sort of like where you go over the various points about what you want to play, who you want to play, and sort of like the lines and veils and the do's and don'ts that you might not want to address in the campaign. So we've got another couple of puzzles here. So you're doing like spot the difference or just, similarities, and you've got a speed run for a maze. Heroes and villains. We have Volothamp Gedarm. Travelling scholar and wizard. So another hero. Another lingo. We have a guide to D&D slang. Things like above the table. Big bad evil guy crit, Dungeon Master player character. Well, I've never seen Dungeon Master player character, but it is, just an NPC. Natural 20. Bestiary, elementals, and fae. And then we have meet the DM, meet the Dungeon Master Dave Walters, the Black Dice Society. Mapping it out, so we've got another puzzle, putting those together to form a proper map, a word search, level up your table, using secret messages, potions, maps, deck of many things, physical puzzles, if you have a proper a deck of many things. And the deck of many things is a signature artifact from Dungeons and Dragons, and several companies over the years have produced sort of decks of many things, and there's not one in print at the moment. You can probably find one on somewhere like Etsy, and they're really fantastic to have at the table if you have that kind of wild and fantastic campaign where you want a lot of changes, a lot of sort of like disorder and chaos thrown into the mix. Look at wild magic. Wild magic sorcerers, barbarian path of wild magic, role playing a wild magic sorcerer, a bit like Simon in the Dungeons and Dragons film. And then mapping the realms, we have a map of Avernus, tying that into the campaign Descent into Avernus. So this is going down into the first level of hell. Roll for intelligence. We've got a quiz. And then that's it. And let's just check the final pages. We've got a glossary and answers to all the puzzles. Don't look. So yeah, that is. That's the Dungeons and Dragons annual for 2023. There'll be another one out for 2024. I'll have a look at it in the new year next year, and I'll review it come June. I generally review these in June because it's wildly inappropriate to review it then, so that's when I do it. So yeah, that's. I mean, you know, if you're a veteran, you're not going to need this or want this on your shelf. But if you've got a younger player or someone who's new to the hobby, yeah, perhaps give this to them as a gift, as a sort of introduction. Perhaps to sit alongside their own first copy of the Player's Handbook, that sort of thing. Anyway, thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, then please do click on the like button down below, and of course if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a package containing a book or game which I'll unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.